So what if I told you that the secret to keeping your customers for years has almost nothing to do with your features, your pricing, or even how useful your product is? What if the key to unshakable loyalty isn't found in code, but in neurology? Today, we're diving into the powerful, often invisible, emotional triggers that anchor a customer to your brand for life. The greatest strategic failure in marketing is the utility fallacy, believing that customers stay because your product is useful, while ignoring the neurological fact that true retention is won in the secret emotional moments that anchor your brand to the user's identity. For decades, we were all taught the same thing: build a better mousetrap and the world will beat a path to your door. But that fundamentally misunderstands us as human beings. We don't make decisions, especially about loyalty, with the logical, rational part of our brain. No. That connection, that real stickiness, is forged in the limbic system, the ancient, powerful core of our brain that handles feelings, memory, and our deep, deep need to belong. So let's just lay out the two worlds we're talking about here. On the left, you've got the utility fallacy. This is all about cold logic, features, price. Think of it like building your business on a frozen lake. It seems solid, it's functional. But the second the economic weather changes, that ice cracks, and you're sunk. You're just another replaceable tool. But on the right, we have emotional anchors. This is about building on bedrock. It's not about just being useful. It's about creating these unforgettable moments that weave your brand into the very fabric of who your user is. It's about creating warm affinity. All right, here's our roadmap. We're going to start by diagnosing the problem, the utility fallacy and the crisis it created, what we call the Great SaaS Purge. Then we'll get to the solution, a system called the Neural-Affinity Engine. We'll look at the psychology that makes it tick, give you a real framework for building it, and show you how to get to that ultimate goal, moving from just retaining customers to becoming part of their identity. Okay, first things first, let's tackle this foundational mistake that so many companies make. Why is just chasing more and more features not just a bad strategy, but one that can actually push your customers away in the long run? So here's the absolute heart of the issue. Being useful is just the price of admission. It's the bare minimum to even get noticed. The fallacy is thinking that this floor is also the ceiling. Companies pour millions into that one extra feature, that tiny UI tweak, thinking it's all a logical math problem. But you're not losing customers because your product is broken. You're losing them because it's cold. You're offering a logical tool to a human being who is wired to search for connection and belonging. It's a fundamental mismatch, and it's a direct path to churn. And this leads to a pretty wild paradox, doesn't it? We spent all this time trying to create a frictionless experience, but when a tool works so perfectly that it becomes invisible, it becomes forgettable. It's like the electricity in your house. You never think about it, never feel grateful for it, until it's gone. Because our brains are wired to conserve energy, we just don't form strong memories about things that don't make us feel something. So by being perfectly efficient but emotionally sterile, you are literally training your users to forget you. Perfect utility doesn't build a moat. It just builds a quiet sea of indifference. Now, for a long time, this flawed utility-first model kind of seemed to work, right? Venture capital was flowing and everyone's subscription list was a mile long. But then the market shifted. A huge event happened that exposed just how fragile this whole philosophy really was. This timeline really tells the whole story. First, we had the growth era. The mantra was just features, features, features. More was always better. Companies had these bloated tech stacks with a tool for every tiny little thing. Then, bam, 2024 hit, and with it, the Great SaaS Purge. The economy got tight, and suddenly the CFO's axe started swinging. Every single line item on the budget was under a microscope. And guess what went first? All those useful, seamless, but emotionally cold tools. They were instantly seen as costs, not partners. And that crisis gave birth to the efficiency era, where the only way to survive was to build a new kind of defense: identity attachment. This, right here, is the new gold standard. It's the moat that a spreadsheet can't cross. Identity attachment is that magical point where your product stops being just a tool and starts feeling like a partner. It gets tangled up in the user's own story of their success, their skill, their professional growth. When you get to this point, the whole conversation changes. You're no longer a disposable line item. Canceling your product suddenly feels wrong. It feels like a betrayal, like they're giving up on a piece of themselves. Okay, so we know the problem, and we know the goal is this identity attachment, but how do you actually build it? How do you do it on purpose? Well, the answer is in a specific engineered system designed to do exactly that. This is the Neural-Affinity Engine.
And listen, this isn't a feature list. It's an emotional architecture with 3 crucial layers. First is struggle validation, the empathy gate. This is where your product stops being a silent tool and actually acknowledges the user's hard work. It says, hey, we see you, we know this is tough. It could be as simple as a message saying, wow, you've been in deep focus for 2 hours. Incredible. The second layer is the mastery peak, the dopamine gate. This is the engineered celebration, the confetti moment. When a user finishes a big, hard task, you don't just move on. You create a genuine moment of triumph that gives them a little dopamine hit and wires their brain to associate your product with success. And finally, you have the tribal ritual, the belonging gate. This is how you turn individual users into a community, making them feel like they're part of an exclusive club of skilled people just by using your product.
Now, to make this engine run, you have to completely change how you measure success. It's time to throw out those old vanity metrics like daily active users. They're meaningless. The only metric that actually predicts loyalty is emotional resonance density. The question isn't how many people logged in today. It's how many people felt a moment of pride or relief or connection while they were here. It's a massive shift from counting clicks to counting feelings, from measuring traffic to measuring true belonging. And putting them side by side makes it so clear. The old metrics, they just measure usage. They tell you if someone showed up to the party, but they don't tell you why they're there, or if they're having a good time, or if they'll ever come back. Emotional resonance density measures belonging. It tells you the actual quality of the relationship. It's the real health score of your business, and it predicts the future way better than any usage stat ever could. Now, this Neural-Affinity Engine might sound like a clever marketing idea, but it's not just theory. The reason it works so well is that it's built on a solid foundation of behavioral psychology. It literally leverages the predictable ways our brains are wired for memory, for motivation, and for connection. Let's start with a really powerful one, the peak end roll. Think about your last vacation. You don't remember every single minute, do you? Of course not. You remember the most amazing moment, the peak, and maybe how you felt at the very end. Our brains don't average things out. And it's the exact same with software. A user could have hours of just boring, neutral utility, but one single, perfectly designed emotional peak can completely overwrite that entire memory. They won't remember the 99% of the time your app just worked. They'll remember the 1% of the time it made them feel like a rock star. You're not just providing a service, you are actively curating a positive memory. Next up, the IKEA Effect. You know this one. It's why that wobbly bookshelf you spent all Saturday building feels way more valuable to you than a perfect, pre-assembled one. Why? Because you put your own effort, your own struggle, your own sweat into it. It's a part of you now. And this is so powerful in software. When you make users work for things, to earn that expert badge, to keep that 100-day streak alive, they are investing a piece of themselves into your platform. And this is the real kicker. This is the business magic of the IKEA Effect. Suddenly, the cost of switching to a competitor isn't just about money or learning a new interface. The real cost becomes emotional. It means giving up their pro status. It means breaking their streak. It means throwing away the trophies they built with their own 2 hands. It becomes a threat to their ego. And that is a psychological moat that is incredibly difficult for a competitor to cross. So we've covered the what and the why. The theory is clear. Now for the fun part. Let's get practical. How do you actually build this stuff? Here is the actionable blueprint for making it happen. All right, here's a 4-step framework you can use right away. 1. Architect for liminal celebration. Liminal spaces are those in-between moments, loading screens, project completion pages, the moment after you hit send. It's usually dead space. Turn it into a stage for celebration. 2. Engineer the identity mirror. Your product needs to reflect back to the user the person they want to be. Ask yourself, what heroic adjective does someone earn by mastering our tool? Are they a creative genius? An organized mastermind? Build features that prove it to them. 3. Automate the dopamine drip. This isn't about one big party. It's about a steady stream of small, meaningful acknowledgments. Hey, you've reviewed 50 items this week. You're on fire. And 4. Measure sentiment velocity. Stop just tracking keywords. Start listening to the emotion in the words your users choose. Are they calling you a vendor or a lifesaver? That shift in language is everything. And this all boils down to one fundamental question you have to ask your team. Are you a vendor or are you a guardian? See, a vendor is transactional. They provide a commodity for a price. They're replaceable. But a guardian is different. A guardian protects the user's progress, their ambition, their time. They're on the user side. Shifting your company's mindset from vendor to guardian is the single most important step you can take. Okay, let's bring this all home. When you really commit to the system, when you build this emotional architecture, you do more than just improve a metric. You fundamentally change your relationship with your customers. And this is it. This is the whole game. This is the ultimate transformation. When those emotional anchors are set deep, you're no longer just one of several options on a CFO spreadsheet. You are no longer a choice to be reevaluated every year. You become an indispensable part of your user's professional identity. You become part of their story of success. So if you're going to walk away with anything today, let it be these 5 things. 1, utility is just the starting line. It's the floor, not the ceiling. 2, real retention isn't one with features. It's one in those small, powerful emotional moments. 3, you have to bypass the logical CFO brain and connect directly with the emotional limbic system of your user. 4, stop just showing people dashboards. Turn their data into meaningful, earned status. And 5, your ultimate goal, make leaving feel like a personal betrayal, not a simple budget cut. In the end, what this really teaches us is something profound about building a brand that lasts. Real, sustainable growth isn't just about a line going up on a chart. It's a learned process. It's about learning to understand, to connect with, and to serve the deep, human, emotional needs of the people you're lucky enough to call your customers.